There is something about Christmas Eve's silence that just feels different. It is not the same kind of quiet you hear on a regular night. It is heavier, deeper, like everything outside is frozen in place and the world is holding its breath. And for Jenna, that stillness made everything feel worse in a way she could not explain. She had just turned 19 and was staying home alone for the first time during Christmas Eve. Her parents had flown out the night before to visit her grandparents, who lived 2 states away. Jenna could not go with them because she had a morning shift on Christmas Day at the bakery where she worked. She told them she would be fine. She even laughed and said, "It is just one night." Her neighborhood had never been a place where anything strange happened. No break-ins, no weird people hanging around. It was mostly older couples who decorated their lawns like they were trying to win a contest every December. But that night, something felt off as soon as the sky got dark. Jenna later described it as the same feeling you get when you walk into a room where 2 people were arguing a few minutes earlier. You cannot see anything wrong, but you can feel the tension sitting in the air. She stayed downstairs watching movies and wrapping a few last-minute gifts. She ate some sugar cookies she had baked earlier and texted friends who were also staying home. Everything felt normal, calm, safe, until around 11:30 at night. That was when she heard the first sound. It was a soft metallic click coming from the back of the house. Not loud, not aggressive, just slow and intentional, like someone testing a doorknob with the lightest touch. Her house had 2 back entrances. One was a sliding glass door that opened to the patio. The other was a regular door connected to the laundry room. Jenna paused the TV and listened carefully. She tried to tell herself it was just the heater turning on or something shifting in the pipes, but then it happened again. Click, pause, click. This time she muted the TV completely, and the moment the room fell silent, she realized something that made her skin crawl. The house was not quiet at all. There was a faint scraping sound coming from the back of the house, repetitive, slow, a dragging pattern that instantly made her heart start racing. She walked toward the kitchen as quietly as she could, her socks barely making a sound on the floor. Halfway to the sliding door, her phone buzzed in her hand. It was a text from her neighbor, Mr. Carden. He was an older man who spent most evenings sitting on his porch, casually keeping an eye on the neighborhood like it was his job. His message said, "Is someone staying with you tonight?" Jenna felt her stomach drop. She typed back quickly, "No, why?" His reply came instantly, "Because someone keeps walking behind your house." Her hands went cold. She slowly stepped closer to the sliding door even though every instinct told her not to. The lights outside were off, and without them the yard looked like a black wall of shadows pressed up against the glass. She reached toward the switch to turn on the patio light, but she froze when a new sound hit her. A whisper. Not a word, not even a sentence, just the soft sound of breath on the other side of the glass, as if someone had their face inches away from it. Jenna backed up slowly, terrified the person outside could sense even the smallest movement. Her phone buzzed again. He just crouched down. Do not go near the windows. Her hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped the phone. She called emergency services immediately, whispering into the receiver as she explained what was happening. The dispatcher told her to stay somewhere safe and stay quiet until help arrived. But her house did not have a real safe room. No basement, no extra locks, nothing. Jenna ended up crouching behind the kitchen counter holding a heavy ceramic mug because it was the only thing she could grab. Minutes dragged, painfully slow. Then she heard it. A long sliding sound on the glass, like someone was pressing their whole hand against it and slowly moving it down. Then came a tap, then another, then another. Slow, rhythmic, almost patient. Whoever was out there did not seem like they were trying to break in. They were teasing her, letting her know they were there. The worst part was the breathing. She could hear it clearly through the small gap where the sliding door met the frame. Just enough space for cold air to slip through, just enough space for sound to travel. The dispatcher stayed on the phone with her the whole time, and eventually she heard the faint sounds of sirens in the distance. The tapping stopped instantly. The breathing stopped too, and for a few seconds the entire house went silent again. When police arrived and swept the property, they found something that made the officers uneasy. Footprints in the snow circled her house 4 times, not randomly, not wandering. It looked like someone had paced around the house in a wide loop again and again. They also found smudge marks on the sliding door, like a forehead and nose had been pressed firmly against the glass. But the footprints did not lead toward the street. They led straight toward the woods behind her house and disappeared into the trees. Police never found the person, but the officer who took the report told her something that stuck with her. Whoever it was knew what they were doing. They stayed out of all visible angles from the street. Jenna did not sleep the rest of the night.
The second story comes from a guy named Lucas, who was 17 when this happened. He lived in a quiet suburb, the kind of place where the loudest thing at night was a dog barking 2 streets over. Nothing ever happened there. No weird noise in the middle of the night. No suspicious cars. Nothing. Until one Christmas Eve, when someone out there decided Lucas deserved a very special gift. His parents were working late that night. His mom was a nurse, and the hospital needed all the help they could get during the holidays. His dad worked tech support and had been pulled into an emergency shift. They left around 5 in the evening and told him they would be home close to midnight. Lucas spent the evening gaming, texting friends, scrolling through videos, doing what most teenagers do when they have the whole house to themselves. Everything felt normal until around 9, when he got up to grab snacks from the kitchen. On his way back, something outside caught his eye through the peephole of the front door. There was a box sitting in the middle of the porch. No wrapping paper, no ribbon, no logo. Just a plain brown box with his name written on top in thick black marker. And the handwriting looked rushed, slanted, off. Lucas frowned. He was not expecting a delivery. He had not ordered anything. None of his friends lived close enough to drop something off without telling him. He opened the door slowly and grabbed the box. It felt surprisingly light. Not just kinda light, but almost empty. He brought it inside, set it on the kitchen table, and noticed something else. There was no return address, no shipping label, no tape sealing it. Just the cardboard folded shut like someone wanted it to open easily. He hesitated for a second, then lifted the top. Inside was snow. Just snow. A small pile of cold, melting snow sitting in the bottom of the box. Water was already starting to soak into the cardboard. He stared at it, confused. Then he noticed something buried beneath the snow, a folded piece of paper. He picked it up, and opened it carefully. A single line was written in black marker: "You should not be alone tonight." Lucas felt a cold spike crawl up his spine. He looked back at the door, half expecting to see someone still standing out there. But the porch was empty, completely still. He turned on all the lights downstairs and checked every door in the house, making sure every lock was clicked shut. He tried calling his mom, then his dad. No answer. They were probably busy, so he tried to shake off the weird feeling and went back to gaming. But about 30 minutes later, he heard a knock. 2 quick knocks, sharp and clear. Lucas froze. He walked to the front door and checked the peephole. Nobody there. Before he could even take a breath, another knock came. But this time it sounded different. A lower pitch, a different angle. It was coming from the back of the house. Lucas felt his whole body tighten. He stepped into the kitchen slowly. The knocks came again. 3 this time, louder, right against the sliding door. He did not want to look. Every part of him screamed not to, but curiosity pulled him forward. He leaned slightly to the side to see out the glass. Nothing. Just the dark yard and the reflection of his own face in the glass. He backed away. Then his phone buzzed in his hand. A text from an unknown number. "Do you like the gift?" Lucas felt the air leave his chest. He typed back with shaking hands. "Who is this?" The reply came instantly. "Come outside." He stepped even farther from the sliding door. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. He typed again, fingers trembling. "I am calling the police." A new message appeared. This time it was a photo, a blurry shot of him through the kitchen window, standing right where he was. Lucas dropped his phone. Pure fear shot through him. He ran upstairs, went into the bathroom, locked the door, and called emergency services. He whispered everything he saw, everything he heard. While he waited for police, he heard footsteps outside. Slow, heavy, crunching through the snow as they circled the house. Once, twice, 3 times. Sometimes the footsteps paused right outside a window, like whoever was out there was standing perfectly still, listening. Then silence. A long, heavy silence. When police finally arrived, Lucas could hear the sirens from the bathroom. He rushed downstairs to unlock the door. Officers searched the outside of the house while he waited inside with one of them. They found something that made Lucas's stomach twist. 2 more boxes had been left on the porch. Both were identical to the first. Plain cardboard, no tape, no label, just his name written in the same black marker. And both were filled with snow. And both had notes inside. The first note said, "You did not open the door." The second said, "Next time, you will." Police traced the number that texted him, but it belonged to a disconnected prepaid phone. No records, no fingerprints on the box, no footprints around the house because it had snowed lightly while he was hiding in the bathroom, covering any tracks. Lucas's family installed cameras after that night. Extra locks, motion lights, everything they could think of. But not once did they ever catch someone bringing a box to their door again. And Lucas still wonders if whoever sent those messages was waiting for him to make one mistake, Just one opening the door at the wrong moment.
Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun.
Our last story comes from a woman named Mariah, who was spending Christmas Eve alone for the very first time after moving to a new city. She had been excited at first. New place, new start, new independence. The house she rented wasn't perfect. It was older, the floors creaked, and the heating made weird noises. But it had charm. And the previous tenant left behind a whole stack of Christmas lights in the shed, so she went all in decorating. Strings of warm white bulbs across the gutter, candy cane lights along the walkway, and a glowing star in the yard. It looked so cheerful that people walking their dogs would slow down just to admire it. Even she felt proud every time she pulled into the driveway. She had no idea those lights would end up becoming the only reason she stayed safe that night. Around 12:15 a.m., Mariah woke up to a soft clicking sound. At first, she thought it was her heater acting up, but then she saw something strange through her bedroom window. The Christmas lights were flickering. Not in a random way like faulty wiring. They were turning on and off in a steady rhythm. Click. Pause. Click. Like someone was physically unplugging the cord and plugging it back in. She got out of bed slowly, thinking maybe a squirrel had climbed somewhere it shouldn't. But when she peeked between the curtains, her stomach dropped. There was a man standing in her yard. He wasn't looking at the lights. He wasn't fixing anything. He was staring directly at her window, completely still, hands in his pockets, like he had been waiting for her to look. Mariah dropped down to the floor, heart pounding so loud she could barely hear anything else. She grabbed her phone and quietly called 911. She whispered to the operator and stayed low, terrified he had seen her move. When she risked another glance outside, the man was gone. For a moment she hoped it was over. Maybe he wandered off. Maybe he left. But then she noticed something even worse. The lights on the side of the house began flickering next, then the ones near the back door, then the ones along the fence. Someone was walking around the entire house, unplugging and plugging each strand, not randomly, not accidentally, deliberately, slowly, like they wanted her to know they were circling the house. The dispatcher told her officers were on the way, but they were still several minutes out. She tried to stay calm, telling herself the lights were bright enough to scare him away. But then everything inside the house went dark. The heater shut off. The lamp on her nightstand went silent. The fridge clicked off. The power was gone. Only the Christmas lights outside were still glowing, faint, warm, and terrifyingly out of place against the silent house. Then she heard footsteps on her front porch, soft but unhurried, like whoever was out there wasn't afraid of being caught. A gentle tapping came next. Tap, 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 right against the small window next to the front door. And then a voice, a low whisper that floated through the cold air. "You decorated this house really nice." Mariah's breath caught in her throat. She stayed perfectly still. The whisper came again, this time closer, like the person leaned in toward the door. "I saw it last year, too." That sentence hit her harder than anything else that night.
She had only lived there 3 months. Whoever this was watching the previous tenant last Christmas, and that tenant never warned her about anything. No note, no message, nothing. The soft footsteps crossed the porch, then moved to the side of the house. A second later, she heard the doorknob jiggle, first gently, then harder, then aggressively, like the person was testing the lock and growing frustrated. Mariah tried to think clearly. She ran to the kitchen and grabbed the biggest knife she could find, crouching behind the counter. She held her breath as the jiggling stopped. But then, from the back of the house, the handle on the sliding door began rattling hard, as if someone was trying to force it open. She kept her eyes on the hallway, waiting, praying she'd hear the police. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, she heard sirens in the distance. The rattling stopped instantly. The footsteps moved quickly across the yard. She peeked a little and saw a dark figure slipping between 2 houses and vanishing into the shadows. When police arrived, they checked every door, every window, every part of the yard. Whoever it was had already gotten away. But something else was waiting. In the shed behind the house, the same shed where all the old Christmas supplies had been stored, officers found a Polaroid photo tucked behind a dusty box. The picture showed the previous tenant sitting in the living room, taken through a window, taken without them knowing, and taped to the bottom of the photo was a small handwritten note. "I like this house at Christmas." Mariah moved out 2 weeks later, and the Christmas lights, she left them behind, exactly the way she found them.